Okay, I would like to call to order the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee for the Isabella Board of Commissioners. This time, is there any additions to the agenda that we need to go over? Seeing none, we'll go right to the agenda items.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to run a test because I don't see this microphone picking your voice. So I'm just gonna test.
We all set? Do I need to speak up higher?
I see it moving now. We should be good.
Okay, I will try to speak up. With that, we will do a call to the public. Everybody out in the audience that would like to speak this time. Okay. Good thing that's nice little chairs.
Mhm.
Is there anybody online or on the phone at this time?
There is not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, just give it like 30 seconds and we'll proceed. Somebody's running a little bit behind times. Okay, seeing none, I think we'll proceed. There'll be another chance at the end of the meeting for somebody to talk. So moving right into the agenda items, we have consider approving the fiscal year 2023 community corrections application and plan in the amount of $82,751. We have with us the court administrator, Carrie Curtis, and 80 folks. Welcome. The floor is all yours.
So first and foremost, this is Andrew Foster. He's our new community corrections coordinator. He has been with the court for over 20 years. He worked as a court officer prior to taking this new position and done a fantastic job. So we are super excited about that. He started when in that position? 1st of December. So yes,
Congratulations.
he's doing a great job and taking it the bull by the horn, so they say. So we're back again for another year for the community corrections grant. There are not a lot of changes for fiscal year 23. As I noted in the staff report, we made a lot of changes in 2022. We moved to that in-house programming, Thinking Matters off the Shelf product, which has allowed us to serve many more of our offenders and utilize existing staff to teach the class. So that is working out really well. We don't have to worry about only having 3 in a group to get reimbursed like we did with our outside vendors. So we're really happy with that. Plan to continue that into next year. The big addition that we are trying to get funded is Andy does a pretrial risk assessment on every single new arrest to the extent possible, which helps the magistrate determine the appropriate bond to set. He can talk a little bit more about that if you'd like. So we're trying to get some of his wages funded for that process because the state will reimburse us for that. So hopefully get that approved. So we'll take a little bit more of that salary. Other than that, everything's continuing. We're just adjusting our numbers a little bit based on actual utilization so far in 2022, because this is really the first full year post-COVID that we thought we'd be able to get accurate counts of what's going on. Plus, we have all the new jail reform laws that are making it much more difficult for people to be incarcerated, and we have to assume that people should be out on, non-cash bonds and those kinds of things.
So besides the inflation costs have been increases because of the pre-trial assessments.
Yeah, they take about an hour a piece to complete on average. Time you run a background check and then interview and then present, make a presentation to magistrate. And you do all that for each one. Some days there's 1 or 2, some days there's 8.
Now will that increase the risk of getting more of our, you always submit something, so it always gets cut
if we receive the same amount as in fiscal year 23 that we have in 22, we'll still be able to provide the services we're providing. You know, there's a chance that we could serve less offenders. But the fact is, we still have to do the assessments, whether the state reimburses us or they don't. So we're just trying to get them to take a little bit more responsibility for the requirements that they have of us. So if they don't, we're still going to operate the program. We don't tell them that.
Mr. Slaney.
My only thought is general questions of are we all continue to like reduce the amount of bond that is needed for each person, or reduce those hurdles for offenders, or
So we continue to make bond decisions, and I see the public defender sitting here, so we continue to look at public safety and appearance rates when making bond decisions. Those are the main things that we look at. Obviously, we don't want low-level offenders sitting in jail simply because they can't make bond. If we can give them conditions to keep the community safe and help with their appearance. The really big component that we have in our county, and Andy figured this out as he started doing these, is that a lot of our offenders that are high-level offenders don't live here. They're transient. They're coming to the casino. They're coming here as potential students. They're committing these crimes and they don't have an address here. So that's some kind of an issue sometimes with getting them to come back to court. It also doesn't help us with providing them services, because the services in our community, they're not going to travel back here necessarily for those services. So that is another level that we are seeing more and more of as we do these pretrial assessments and that kind of thing. So.
I just noticed that, or was talking to my daughter this weekend, that the prosecutor in Washtenaw County, I think it was the prosecutor, eliminated bail completely. And so that'll be an interesting test case to look at, see how that affects. But that's off track. I
know that the sheriff, excuse me, the sheriff has also commented about the same thing you just mentioned, about rise in the crime rate has been people coming into the community and not so much from people who are students or actually live here. So
Do you know what that number is?
I don't have a percentage, but I know it's high.
we've talked about it.
Probably over 50% are from out of town. Now, then that's like far out of town, not within like one county, but more than one county away.
Wow. Chairman Hope, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, I don't have any more questions.
All right,
So,
I'll make the motion, move to bring forth the fiscal year 2023 community corrections application and plan in the amount of $82,751 to the work session next Tuesday.
okay, I will support that. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion has passed and we will move it forward to the work session. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks very much.
you.
Thanks for entertaining
Nice to
my.
meet you guys.
Hopefully we'll get the
Topic.
entire amount this
It's
time.
not off topic, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a way for me to get info, right? I got Kerry Curtis right here.
Right.
There you go. Okay, moving on. Next item is consider submitting the compliance plan and cost analysis to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, the MIDC, for fiscal year 2023 in the amount of $1,581,919, with the state contribution being $1,341,613, and the local share being $240,306. Let me see if I got the right thing here. Okay, we have our public defender, Thomas Hausman, here to talk about it.
Good morning. This is our fourth year into it. Every
year in April, we have to submit our compliance plan with the cost analysis to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, showing how our county is going to comply with the standards for indigent defense. We've had the first 4 that have been implemented already through the course of the past 4 years that we're in compliance with, appearing at every arraignment, continuing education for attorneys, the use of experts and investigators. One of the biggest changes throughout the course of our last fiscal year, of course, is bringing in an on-staff investigator into the public defender's office. She's been with us since January. She came to us actually from Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, from CPS. She was an investigator there. So she's a fantastic addition to our office. And then this year, going forward, we have to comply with the 5th standard that has been passed by Laura. And so the 5th standard is independence from the judiciary. So what that means for us is that essentially we've always complied with all 8 standards. Our plan from the get-go was let's comply with them now so that I don't have to come here every year and say, this is how we're changing things this year. And so we're already in compliance. What that does is for us is when someone applies to have a public defender, we send the form to the court. They approve their indigency. They send it back to us to appoint an attorney. So we're already in compliance with that. There's no change to our processes. The biggest change for our compliance plan and cost analysis going forward for fiscal year 23 is something we actually eliminated in fiscal year of 20. Back in fiscal year of 20, 20 or 21? 21. We were working on it in 20 for fiscal year 21. And what we did was our original compliance plan dating back to fiscal year of 19 was there were going to be 7 attorneys staffed in our office. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, when we were doing our fiscal year 21 plan during 2020, when we were working from home, we not eliminated that position, but what we did was because we only had 3 attorneys on staff, we took the salary and benefit dollar amount from one position and moved it over into contractual services so that we had enough money to cover the contract attorneys who were handling the majority of our cases. Now that we're fully staffed, as Ms. Curtis alluded to, there's been a lot of changes in the law over the course of the past 2 or 3 years. People being released on bond, probation violations. Now people aren't arrested, they're given an appearance date. So their arraignment is scheduled anytime throughout the docket versus being at 3 o'clock every day. And the addition of felony attorneys are now required to attend what's called a pre-sentence interview. After someone is convicted of a crime, they meet with probation to do a pre-sentence report that goes to the judge, the prosecutor, and ourselves prior to sentencing. Prior to last year, the attorney was not allowed at that meeting. That was a change in the law. So that's another court date that felony attorneys have to attend. And so looking at it from that standpoint, it made sense to reintroduce that 7th attorney position into our office. It doesn't change the dollar amount of our grant at all, because what we did was we just moved the money from the attorney position or the staff attorney position to contractual services, and now we're kind of taking it back. And so it won't change those dollar amounts. Now, we did notice, and when I was going through kind of planning last week, we noticed that when we did move that over, that was prior to the wage study being implemented. So there is kind of a change in dollar amount. So the dollar amounts that I provided are a draft at this point. They may fluctuate a little bit. One of the changes for that is what I just spoke about, the change in that dollar amount. It won't affect the local share at all. The local share is set in stone. So that $240,000, that does not change. It's more the dollar amount that we would receive from the state. The other change is there's talk that Michigan state bar dues for attorneys are going to rise this year. MIDC has already said they will cover that when that change comes, that we don't have to put that into our plan. They'll automatically take care of whatever it gets changed to. At this point, it's just kind of a rumor. We don't know what they're going to increase bar dues to, but that's something obviously because the county covers. I know the bar association or the bar dues for the prosecutor's office as well. So those are probably going to increase for the next year. I don't know what they're going to increase to, but that's something that they've already assured me that they're going to cover the cost of. But aside from that, it's, you know, every year we do this, it gets easier and easier for Chris Whitmer and I to get done, so.
That's what you want to hear.
Okay, I have a couple questions. Of
Sure,
course.
sure.
First off, you know, when we first started this, we thought the county share would really increase quite a bit, but I see the increase is less than 2%. So I'm really happily shocked that our share has remained fairly steady on this, because I really thought that once it was implemented, it's like
I think we
kind of
all
do
thought
everything
that.
else. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
so I'm very happy to see that that's a just very minor increase. I mean, you hate to see any, but like I said, I think I didn't really figure it out, but I think it's less than 2% looking at it. Second real question I have is, when we set this up, we were trying to make sure that we were going to be set in the future to meet all the standards, and we did pretty well meet the standards. Do you see any direction that we're going to have to change as they continue implementing the other standards, or something that you're
Not at all, really.
worried about?
No, not in terms of complying with the standards, no. I mean, obviously, you know,
I mean, like I said, you said they keep changing the rules, so I just want to make sure that we're still
yeah,
in
and
good position.
no, not the standards, I'm just saying what changes in the law.
Right.
I mean, changes in the law are going to happen. I mean, when we started this office, it was October of 2019. So what we had planned was changed rather quickly when we got into it. You know, we moved into our office in October of 2019 and had 3 attorneys, and, you know, then COVID happened. So, you know, we completely shifted. Obviously, we've completely shifted with court being primarily virtual as well, which I'm a big fan of. But, you know, that, you know, the law changes constantly, and we're constantly having to adapt to it.
So you're pretty confident.
But yes, with the
direction.
MIDC standards, yeah, I don't. If anything, it's become easier to comply with them because of virtual court, especially with arraignments. You know, I actually brought, I was half joking with Miss Curtis, but I did bring the numbers to kind of show, you know, how many cases have been filed in this. I have to do this quarterly for the grant. So, I mean, Miss Curtis helps me out with these every month or every 3 months to show this is how many cases are filed in court. This is how many arraignments are handled. You know, so I can go back and compare every 3 months how many cases are filed in the court.
I know we've talked about, of course, we're going to build a new jail and everything. Are you having, with the situation in the jail now, has that caused any problem with the pre-trial or anything there? Is that, I know they've been trying to do as much as possible. Is there any, I guess what I'm saying is that everything's still working fairly good through the
Yes.
jail?
Yep.
Because I
You know,
know-
when the jail got the Chromebooks so that we could meet with clients who were incarcerated. You know, obviously I handle a lot of higher end cases, so most of my clients are incarcerated. They're not out on bond, but we have the Chromebooks. We very recently, as of last week, there's a way for Zoom to communicate with Polycom in the jail. It's not just a paid Zoom subscription, but it's an additional subscription that you have to buy for Zoom. And so due to some security concerns in the jail, you know, they'd prefer to use the Polycom system. So now we have that capability where we can meet with people that are lodged in jail sitting from our laptop, which is fantastic. And it's a secure connection. There's no concerns about attorney-client privilege or anything like that. You know, it's a secure connection.
Some of the problem they were having starting out.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, it's one of those changes that we've had to come across over the course of the past 2 years. But, you know, I know Sheriff's been fantastic to work with. Obviously, having a public defender's office from his standpoint is a big change. And, you know, we've worked out everything fantastically over the course of the past couple of years.
Mr. Sweeney.
Since you have the numbers with you, so how many cases do you normally file in a quarter?
So from January to March 2022, there were a total, and this is everything. This is extraditions, felonies, city misdemeanors, state misdemeanors, felony drunk driving, felony traffic, state drunk or city drunk driving, city traffic, state misdemeanors, and state traffic is 547 cases. Which isn't a great fluctuation one way or the other. I mean, I have the statistics in front of me going back to January through March of last year. It's 100 cases. It's not, that sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Okay, and I mean, that's not ongoing, that's filed.
Correct. Yep, that's filed. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that and ongoing cases, we're able to cover for about $60,000. 240,000 is our part. in this.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just thinking, you know,
Yes, yeah,
the amount of value we have on the dollar for
Pretty
this.
good ROI.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, because we are, and
Good point.
that brings up another point, is that is the, you're talking about the contractual services.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. And so you look at it, you know, our original compliance plan and what we still try to do, obviously, the numbers are idealistic because it's never, we're never gonna hit that 75-25 split,
Right.
right? I mean, there may be months that we do hit it right on the head, but it'd be difficult. Because, you know, the reason for that split is, you know, one attorney can't represent two people involved in the same case. And, you know, obviously right now we have, like I spoke about earlier, we have one attorney who just left for military leave. So, you know, some more misdemeanors over the next month are gonna go to the contract than normally would. And so that's part of the reason why we also wanted to add that position back into the fold. So yes, it has been worked out. I think I ran the numbers because, you know, at the end of March was our halfway through our fiscal year. And I think we were sitting at about 40% of that line item. So we have room.
Right.
What are the bulk of those cases, or are they just all over the place? And are there particular crimes that are really on the rise that we see, or?
I think if you had the sheriff in here, the prosecutor in here, and myself, we would all agree that the number one case would be methamphetamine.
That's what I thought.
I think all three of us would sit here and agree with you. You get the three of us in a room, we might not agree all the time, but that's one thing we would all agree on right here.
Yeah, I look through the jail tracker
Sure.
once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you see there.
And it's the same thing that Andrew Foster and Carrie alluded to earlier, is a lot of those cases aren't residents there. It is the casino. It is people. It is
Yeah.
parking lot stuff there.
Okay, is there any more questions? No.
Make a motion that move to bring forward the compliance plan and cost analysis to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission for fiscal year 2023, the amount of $1,581,919, with the state contribution being $1,341,613, and the local share being $240,306 to the work session next Tuesday.
And I will support that. It's been moved and supported. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. We will move that forward to the work session, and thank you, Public Defender House.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks, Tom.
much for all the info.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Conversation.
Okay, our final item on the agenda is consider approving the return of $5,548 to the Region 6 allocation to meet the Homeland Security Grant Priority Area Project requirements, and authorize the board chair to sign the letter to Miss Richmond. And I believe we have Director Griffith with us on the screen, so.
Yes, we do, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Tim.
Outstanding. Well, I guess first off, I'm pleased to report an error in my staff report that I just caught. If you look at the first paragraph in the background where it says we were awarded 21,185, we're actually awarded 28,185, which thus results in the last number of 15,637 being changed to 22,000 $637. The amount we're giving back still stays the same, unfortunately, but it is the correct amount. And I want to make sure when we talk about giving back, we're actually reallocating it back to our region to accomplish necessary parts of our Homeland Security grant. So this $5,548 will go back to what we call a regional pot of money. It will be spent according to the grant priorities that are required. And Isabella County will still benefit from that $5,548. This is not getting returned to some fund of money that we will see no benefit from. So the priority areas are decided at a later date and time for projects that are coming up as we work through this grant. We're getting ahead of it to accept the grant. We're currently operating on multiple year grants at this point, 18 or 19 and 20. And this one will be coming up for 21. So that's what this is about. It's nothing unusual. What happens is the state grants the regional fiduciary a pot of money. And then from that pot of money, local allocations are made. But as we saw last year and this year, the amount of money that the region must spend on these priority regional projects is the threshold's increasing. And that requires the locals to return a portion of money to the general regional pot so we can guarantee that we won't have any audit issues by not spending the proper amount or minimum amount in those areas. So the areas will be yet to be determined by the region and what to spend, but this is an administrative step in our process to let us have access to the grant when it's time to open the 21 grant.
Is this the normal time of year for this, or did we receive a similar one, or am I just, seemed like we
Nope.
just did one?
Yep, you did one for last year, which was the year prior. This one come out, we're trying as the region to move through the grant processes faster. But what we do to be careful is we try to make sure we spend all of one grant allocation to the region first, and then we go forward to the next grant. Now, Isabella County traditionally has had its projects lined up right early on in the grant, and then we're able to procure equipment, move through that process first and fast. So that kind of helps the region too, to know that we've spent all of our money and we won't be giving any back to go to other regional projects as that comes. And so, and I think you'll see this as a trend at this point where the regional amount required will exceed the amount allocated, and the amount to the locals will have to go back to our regional pot, but it's all within the same single grant that we're accepting.
Well, I'm glad I'm not going totally crazy, so I'm glad you reaffirmed that. I don't have any more questions on that, so I better quit while I'm ahead, so. Commissioner Sway, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, but you're not going crazy, because I think the Homeland Security grants and processes are always keeping us on our toes. It's like here, instead of going from a larger, higher government authority down, we go backwards with the money, and then the fiscal years are always seem to be weirdly numbered,
Yes, behind.
order behind. Yeah, behind. So, yeah, it keeps us on our toes.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay. Chairman?
Oh, I don't have anything.
Okay, pretty easy today. We're not gonna do our audience, so I guess if there's any more questions.
All right, make a motion, move to return bring forward the returning of $5,548 to the Region 6 allocation to meet the Homeland Security Grant and Priority Area Project requirements.
And I will support that. Is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion has passed, and we will move this forward to the work session. And
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Griffiths.
Enjoy your training.
Thumbtacks really work. Okay, I will offer a call to the public. I see none in the house, so I will go to the telephone or online. Okay, seeing there's none, and we've been at this for a little while, I will call for the adjournment. We adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks.
Gentlemen?
So
Just hanging out all morning?
we're not
Cool.
recording
Yeah.
anymore, correct?
Yeah.